Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning trading session. Start of another work week. Let me get you my monitor here and we'll see what's going on this morning. It looks as though, well, here on the NASDAQ, let's take a look here on the Raptor. It looks as though the market fell off a little bit to start the day. So here's where we closed last week at 43.20. And here's the overnight session, or a little bit of the London session. I don't believe I have this one set at 24/7 on my data. It should be set at 24/5. Yes, it's 24/5. There's always a little bit of trading as the Globex opens Sunday night. And you can see we're opening here about 20 points lower than we closed on Friday. Now, with those opening gaps, it's always kind of guesswork to say whether or not the gap is going to try to fill. I do suspect it will try to fill sometime during the day. Just whether or not it's going to try to fill right out of the open is a little bit difficult to tell. Good morning, Jim. We've got some advanced decline numbers here from Jim. So 900 on the buy, almost 1700 on the sell. Again, that opening gap is going to skew those numbers a little bit. But at the moment, here on the Raptor anyways, it looks as though the market's moving a little bit sideways to me. So it's still early, no point in getting too excited just yet. Here's gold on the Eagle. And you can see this is also looking rather choppy, rather sideways. Gold and the stock indices normally have a little bit of an inverse relationship. So if the stock index is going to head lower, we would anticipate that gold will head higher and vice versa. All right, working here the Eagle, working on what might develop into a rule of three. This is a little bit more aggressive. We could take a look at purchasing this here. You see, we've had, come on, computer, work with me. So we've had two signals, well, actually, technically four signals against the trend, but now we have the all-important test of the extreme and the failure. Right, so from here, we might anticipate prices to head higher. Usually what we do with this type of situation is we wait for the third signal. But again, if you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive here, this does give us a good opportunity. We could probably even cover this one below the swing low, and it's totally counter trend. But you can see, relative to where we left off, it might try to bring us into that opening gap. All right, so right now they're really flip-flopping a little bit here, trying to choose a direction. I suppose we also could use an OCO order if you were so inclined. You could use an OCO. I would probably buy above the swing high here, sell below the low here, and just treat this whole sideways mess as a trading range and let the market figure out which way it's going to trade. But the only other thing to look at right now is crude oil. Here's crude oil on the hawk. And just like what we've been seeing in the NASDAQ and gold, the market's pretty content to go sideways here at the moment. We are working a first micro-macro cross signal. Problem with this signal is it's oil. It's going to be really difficult to cover it below the lows, which means you're going to end up trying to cover it somewhere around there. So it's not the best looking trade, but there you go. There's an oil trade all the same. All right, we'll set these things aside. Now we've got our complete rule of three here in the Eagle. We're also producing a buy signal, a soft edge buy here on the Raptor. I'll just punch one in there for demonstration purposes. Now with the soft edge buy, it is our counter trend signal. The signal actually printed right here. It's very similar to what we see in the Eagle in that we're currently against the band and the signal always has to be preceded by this test of the extreme. Without that test of the extreme, you really don't have any solid footing for the trade. Okay, so we're long on the Eagle now, and I'd better get a stop and play here. Okay, we'll start with that, and we'll get a stop and play here on the Raptor. And we're just about to hit our profit objective on our crude oil hawk. We hit the break-even trigger. And now the market's starting to put the brakes on a little bit. Come on, get up there, crude oil. Oh, you stinkers. No! Darn it. So close. So close. Just a couple of ticks from the profit target. All right, so here's our Raptor trade. We've got our Raptor trade and Eagle trade both working here. We had a trend change signal also in the Falcon and a first micro macro cross here in the Hawk. So the market trying to sync up to the long side. We're getting a little resistance coming in. You see the width of this bar here on the Raptor. But the Geiger counter, I saw it still pulling hard here to the buy side. There you go. Oops. Got a little bit more selling coming into the market now. No doubt it's a reaction to the highs right here. Jim says the advanced decline almost even up now. Changed very quickly. So from 900 on the buy to about 1700 on the sell. We're about 1326 on the buy and 1371 on the sell. So the market really evened out in a hurry there. All right, so we're working a little bit of a swing now on the Raptor and the Eagle. It's to be expected. Gold still holding fairly steady. Okay, here we go. Oh, they're floundering again. That's not a good sign. This is pretty much the last chance for the buyers to pull this market together. Come on, get up there. All right, I'm going to chicken out. I'm going to pull it below this bar right here. I'm just going to give the buyers this range. And admittedly, this is a little bit aggressive on my part. I'm going to duplicate the trade here on this bar. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it different because I have the opportunity now to do the same trade two different ways. Let's see whether keeping a more liberal stop is actually going to keep us in the market longer. There's obviously some resistance here around this 43.10 area. You can see it from the activity, from the width of the bars, just from the general sideways drift. Okay, we're about to get tagged here on the Raptor trade. Okay, so I ditched on the Raptor trade early. And we'll see here in a minute whether that was a mistake. Getting a little bit of a macro pullback type signal here on the Hawk. So the Hawk's still looking fairly bullish. The nice thing about the Hawk, of course, we're not looking for the market to move as far. And if you suspect that perhaps the trade is going to be too risky, of course, you can always dial down the risk amount as well, right? We're definitely in a pullback mode at the moment, however. So if you're looking for a good trade to follow, this one, even though it is just a scalp, is still a little bit on the dicey side. We'll see here whether or not they can take out the or challenge the recent highs. Looks like they're going to try it. Crude oil still looking a little strong. And now we have our cloud crossover here on the Raptor, so we'll see whether they come back with a buy signal. Okay, so the Raptor now into this hard edge. So is the Eagle. We may be seeing a trend change developing on the Eagle as well. We already have our cloud crossover here on the Raptor, and we might be working a late filter entry signal on the Falcon. So a few things looking a little bit bullish for us at the moment. Okay, our Hawk working itself into a red bar buy. Not panicking just yet, although it looks like they're going to try to challenge our stops. Now, when I placed the stop initially, I was looking at the crest here in the macro line. You could have also used this swing low. Uh-oh. Get up there. Well, I wonder if that's going to lead us into a sideways trading range. That signal should have had a little bit more follow through to it. And when your signals begin failing, then it's it makes you wonder, is this market going to be moving sideways today? Or is that all that they can manage to get out of the open? That opening gap, I mean? And here on the Eagle, it became evident that the Raptor was the better play. Once the market started to struggle, get those stops in there. So, little exercise that you can do and learn from, hopefully. All right, so now we're through the bottom end of this morning's trading range. The market definitely looking to be on the bearish side. maybe perhaps it's just wandering. It's hard to tell at this moment whether it's just range bound or whether it's actually going to commit to a downtrend. First micro macro cross here on the hawk. I know high probability signal and all, but where do you cover this trade? Right? Ideally, you should cover it way up there. Oops. And they just moved a little bit quick there. What I'm going to do is, if it fills, I'm going to delete the profit target and just see if it doesn't run out. The better fill is to fill below the low. Actually, what I could do is I could give up a few ticks on the profit side, enter late, and that would enable me to cover closer. That makes more sense. Because what I'm seeing right now is we have a market that's making a range like this. Selling near the bottom end of a range is always difficult. Selling a breakout of a range is sometimes a little more probable. It sometimes has a little bit more strength to it. And it looks like the way this is shaping up, we've got like a traditional bear flag look to this. And I was going to delete my profit objective. And we probably have a comparable signal on our other tools. Let's just go take a look. Yeah, we have a signal here on the Raptor and a signal here on the Eagle. So all our tools are trying to short this current move. Oh, that's too far on the Eagle. Can I go back to the hard edge? Yes, I can. And what I've done is I'm incorporating a second push entry here on the Eagle. So I know the current limit of the bar, and I'm going to let a new low bring me in. And here for you Raptor traders, we had the cloud crossover here. No signal generated, interestingly enough, off the cloud crossover. So they tried it to the upside. Now they're trying to sell it. And, we could just pop in with a short order and try to keep our stops back. We'll start with a really big stop right now, and then we'll adjust it as we go. Okay, so now everybody's just kind of putting the brakes on. Let's go. This was definitely a breakout style move. When we have swing lows or swing highs, whenever the market breaches a significant swing point, a significant swing low, in this case, it doesn't matter whether you identify it here or you identify it down here, it still got breached. whenever the market breaches a significant swing high or low, you can normally anticipate two moves in the direction of the breakout. So this is move number one. Now we're going to be on the lookout for a chance to get in on move number two. We're already short some of our other tools. We'll see if we get a signal here on the Falcon in a moment as it retreats back to the trend line. Okay, here we go. Here's the, it's essentially, I guess, a trend change signal technically developed right here. Working on a trend line touch style signal. Don't have the warning dot yet. But I suspect we're going to see something soon. This is also very much like our test and retest type phase. So the market breaks out, tests, this is what we call the test. Here's the retest, and then we would be looking for the signal to print as the sellers hold the resistance line. All right, so there's the warning dot. There's the signal. I should get my signal in, my order. And you know what? I might try to run this one out too. So we've got a relatively decent stop on this one. Let's just see whether or not we can sneak a few extra dollars out of this. Come on, let's go. Come on. Oh, they're trying hard. Ay, ay, ay. Now the buyers are showing up again. What is with that? Oop, I guess we should enable my break-even situation here. And we'll let the eagle try to make its swing, but we did have opportunities for profit here on the Raptor. It looks as though we hit our first profit objective, in which case we normally bring the trade to a break-even situation. So we'll do that on the remaining contracts. I'm not liking this trend change that we're seeing here in the Falcon, but I'm doing my best to be patient. I don't think that this little move here is really the second part of the breakout. Oh, the choppiness. All right, here they come. They're going to try to challenge this whole breakout region. Jim thinks they're going to try to test the highs again. It's certainly possible. This is the buyer's best effort. You can see here on the Falcon that they've retreated back to this whole zone that they've broken out. Also in sync with our secondary support line. Working a possible trend change signal to the upside. You could start to get more aggressive with your stops at this point. You see how we have the sellers recommitting to the downtrend. You could say, all right, maybe I'll use this little swing high here. I'll start bringing my stops down. If the sellers fail at this point, well, then there is a good chance that the market will try to retrace higher. It's always a balancing act to try to keep your stops out of harm's way while still giving the trade enough room to sort itself out. So we're into the hard edge now on the Eagle. Looking for some selling. Jim says the buyers were anxious on the YM on the mini Dow. They bought it up before the trend line, which does suggest some eager buying, some aggressive buying. Come on, sellers. So looking for a reaction now off of this hard edge. We're into the hard edge on the Eagle and the Raptor. The Raptor might give us a short out of this hard edge. We might look at it as a short-term scalp type short. Again, we have this little bear flag type flavor to the current formation, and we would expect to see a test of the extreme before the market reversed. And you can tell from the width of the bars, definitely some resistance here as we get closer to 4,300. Crude oil starting to drift a little sideways. Jim says it's into some hourly resistance on his chart. All right, just looking to see if we're going to get a signal. Currently, we're getting some buy dots. All right, I don't want to miss it, but I'm going to bring gold over here. Oh, it looked a little better from my shrunken chart. It looked as though we were getting a rule of three. So we have a bearish band, 1, 2, 3 signals against the hard edge, a retest of the lows, and now the market trying to produce a buy signal off of this cloud crossover here on the Eagle. But you can see trade forecasters saying we're still in full-on scalp mode, after which time we're going to be moving into swing mode, which may not be that much relief. So still looking here for a reaction to the hard edge, which we don't have yet. Come on. And like I said, I think I would treat this a little bit more like a scalp. So there's the hard edge, working on a possible signal. Look at how the buyers are just trying to buy this up. See that? See how they're trying to chew through the buy orders? That may put the nicks on the sellers. Jim says the Russell's on a tear. It won't stop. We'll see whether that spills over into the rest of the stock indices. The NASDAQ, of course, usually a little bit more tech-based. So 4,300, a pretty significant area of resistance for the market right now. No signal. I thought for sure we were going to signal out of that hard edge. And you see how the fatness of this bar right here, well, that's probably a good reason to bring my stops in at least a little bit. And perhaps even go with something like the bar high low and start trailing my stops a little bit more aggressively. So if the market continues lower from here, well then we'll just follow it on the way down. Still haven't produced that Raptor signal. That surprises me. I thought for sure the Raptor was going to toss us a signal there. Not much here in the hawk, kind of drifting sideways. That seems to be the trend today. All right, so there's the sell signal now on the Raptor. Now I'll tell you, this is not quite as enticing as if I had gotten it up here. but we're going to show it to you anyway. It's a hard edge bounce. What I would do is I would cover the trade above that swing high right there. And I'm really just looking for a little bit of a scalp type scenario. If I can get a bar or two here in my favor, I'm going to probably go with my bar high-low strategy or parabolics or something like that. Okay, so there's one bar in our favor. Let's see if I can get one more. Come on. Come on. Just looking to capitalize on a retest of the lows. That's all I'm interested in here at the moment. All right, you see the long wick on this bar right here? That's probably a good reason to get the stops in a little bit more aggressively. All right, so I'm going with the bar high low. If they stall here, if this becomes the test of the low, well then I'll take a little bit of a hit on the trade. However, if the sellers can recover the market at this point, well then it's probably a good spot to get out. And I'm going to be, there we go, do the same thing here on the eagle. So it's put up or shut up time for the sellers. If they can't hold it together at this point, then we're probably going to see a little bit of a rally. Even though we do technically have a first micro macro cross here, I hope that you can see why it's a little bit more difficult. Now, you can take this first micro macro cross, but you definitely need to cover above the high. And again, what we're looking at here is essentially a retest of the lows. All right, and that signal is now drifted into yellow bars, so we can get rid of that. Look for a reversal here and a possible move higher. So it looks like we did take our hit very close to our entry, so it was a loss, but it was a small loss. That's okay. And now we're actually producing a soft edge buy signal. So the Raptor coming right back now with a soft edge buy. And I know it looks like I'm doing a lot of trades here. I'm going to settle down here in a moment. But I'm trying to show you guys some of these things. I should, I'll start pointing out the higher quality signals to you, even if it means not taking more than one or two trades during the session. But we should definitely see a little bit of a run up here. I don't know if we're going to get as far as retesting the high, but if we can break out above 43, that's going to be our next little stumbling block. I think we'll be in for a little bit of a ride anyways. So let's watch what happens as the market gets back here to 43. We'll see how the sellers are trying to pile on the sell orders. There they go. Here comes some buying. Come on, get up there. Get above 43. When there's a lot of sell orders or sellers that entered the market here at 43. Did you see that little hop as they just engaged all their, or not all, but a lot of their exit orders, which are actually buy orders. So what's happening now is we're trapping traders out of their positions. See how we're full on here to the buy side? There we go. Oops. Come on, get over there. Pull that wheel over and hold it. What we're doing is there it is. There it is. We're engaging a lot of the exit stops now. As sellers were selling on the way down here, they sold heavy here. They sold more here. They really sold heavy here. And now we've just engaged some of their exit stops. So we're trying to trap some of these traders out of their positions. As the sellers are fighting it back. So we've got one profit on one target. Stops at break even on the other. Let's see if we can't sneak, maybe, where's my resistance line? Primary support 43.07 and a quarter. That seems like a pretty good spot to look for a profit target. If they can pull it together. Still getting a lot of resistance here. A little bit more active selling than I anticipated. Don't look too far back. No! Get away from there. Shoo! Shoo! Oh, all right. Well, we took profit on one. They tagged the break-even stop on the other. If there is a trend change coming here, we should be able to produce another signal. But right now, we've got a lot of sideways drift. Ryman's watching the E-mini, and he said the gap on the E-mini just filled. That could maybe be a little bit more influential than the gap here on the NASDAQ. And Jim says that crude oil hit resistance and sold off, so we'll see. Here's the mini Dow this morning on the Raptor, and you can see a little bit smoother progression than what we've been looking at in the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's made a move lower, made a move higher, trying to make another move lower. The YM, on the other hand, fairly steady move higher. All right, well, we got a real mess going on here at the moment. Well, we got a little bit of a hard edge bounce here on the NQ and a green bar sell. And that looking like it's getting a little bit of follow through to it. I'll tell you the truth though, all these yellow bars through here, the roller coaster on the trend line here on the Falcon, the yellow bars and the lack of follow through here on the Raptor, none of it is giving me a real warm fuzzy feeling. Very sideways market again. Technically here on the Hawk, a first micro macro cross signal, right back down where the other first micro macro cross printed, never engaged. When you're getting first micro macro cross signals that refuse to follow through, or if they do engage, don't hit their profit target, you're in a real sideways market. Best thing to do is to let it get outside of this range. I know it's hard to watch it, especially if it ends up having a big breakout, but you're just asking for it. There are going to be days where the market is just going to be perfectly content to move sideways, or it may end up moving sideways, say for the morning session. We may not see a decent breakout until this afternoon. Remember your objective. It's not to trade more. Your objective is even not to trade. Your objective is to make money. So if you see a situation where the market is acting in a funny sort of way, and by funny I mean not giving you solid signals or solid follow through, then caution is in order. And when you get something like the late filter entry signal here on the Falcon, you can take it, but dial the risk back. Maybe just throw a onesie on it, try to cover it a little bit deeper. So if now that you're down here at support, look for the reaction. And if the trade gives you a little bit of a, one of these types of things for a reaction, and then starts to head lower, take your stop, bring it down here, and then if the market does one of these, and reverses on you, well, at least then it's a small hit, right? It looks like this might be like a 50 or 60 or $70 loss, not the end of the world. But it's always difficult trading when the market is intent on moving sideways. And there's nothing you can do about it except to try to protect yourself. So we're just kind of watching and waiting. First micro macro cross, it's like our Falcon signal that we were just looking at. It's at the bottom end of the range, the signal technically right here. You could choose to take it below the low. Either way, you're going to have to cover it a long ways away. As we trade back down here to the lows of the morning, around 42.85. So now it looks as though we are testing the lows. We're retesting the lows here. We're getting our test to the extreme. So that could lead to a reversal, could lead to the market moving sideways. Here come the sellers. They're going to try to... Where's my Geiger counter? Oh, look at the buyers trying to chew into the market here. There we go. There's some selling. See, here on the Eagle, I was late for it, but it was better to short this green bar sell being at the top end of the trading range or near the top end of the trading range rather than try to sell this signal here, which is at the bottom end of the trading range. Our hawk trade has retreated and since moved into yellow bars, so we'll get rid of that. Wow, they're really evenly matched here today. It's odd. Usually on a Monday you expect the market to be a little bit more active, give you a little bit more trading opportunities. Well, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's not much going on here, so I'm just kind of snooping around to see if there's anything going on in some of the other markets, and right now, no. Kind of a sleepy start to the week. Well, still a lot of sideways stuff going on here. They are trying to put in a rally, but we're kind of near the top end of this trading range. If we identify the current range, something like this, you could say we're at the top end. See if we get a breakout, or if we get a breakout, we can get a breakout and a retest. All right, so there they are, top end of the trading range. You know, people often ask, well, shouldn't you sell the top end and buy the bottom end? You know, buy high, or pardon me, sell high, buy low. You can. You would need a limit order to do that. And what you would do is you would set your order type to limit. I would probably change the risk to manual mode, which will default to this quantity up here. And what you're looking to do is you're looking to buy the high or near the high, and then risk wherever you think is appropriate. So in fact, we can do it like this. We'll buy the high and we'll risk it up to here. That should give it lots of room. And again, all we're looking to do is to take advantage of a failed breakout. Now, this type of scenario, I've got a pretty big profit target here. It's probably a good idea to take less on the profit side. All right, so now we've sold the high. And like I said, what we want is we want to be more, oops. Oh shoot, I just just got rid of my order. Let's try that again. Oh darn it. Oh shoot, no I really did it. I hit the delete button while I had that highlighted and I've messed something up here. If you are short, you're going to want to be more aggressive on your profit target. Maybe, take profit about halfway into this trading range because generally speaking, the market is divided like this with the buyers dominating the bottom half and the sellers owning the top half. So as the market gets closer to this halfway point, the buyers will tend to get more aggressive and vice versa. If you're buying down here and the market gets up here, the sellers will tend to get more aggressive. But here's the problem with that whole strategy, with the buying on the top end of the range and selling on the bottom. Is you're second guessing what the market's going to do, and that can be very difficult indeed. Okay, so we got a little bit of a breakout to the upside. The Raptors produced the cloud crossover. We'll see whether or not it drifts into that cloud now and gives us some support. All right, waiting for that signal now. Getting a little bit of a trend change signal here. And now everything's just gone quiet again. Well, the market's really trying to pick some direction. It has no direction so far. No, and all the markets are that way. I just kind of snooped around and there's really nothing going on. All right, so we're getting a macro pullback. The Eagle trying to get a little bit more bullish, even though we're working on a green bar sell. We'll just see whether we get anything out of this. Otherwise, I think we're going to call it a day. I suspect we're going to see more go on this afternoon. No, and that's not going to follow through either. All right. Well, I was hoping we were going to see a little bit of a hard edge bounce here, perhaps a rally off of the macro pullback. It ain't going to happen. This market is very much sideways. Expect it to come back down here, retest this 42.90 area. And yeah, there's not much going on here today. So I think we're going to shut the room down for today. We'll give it another try tomorrow. I suspect this afternoon will be a little bit more active as well. All right, you guys. Oh, before we leave, David's asking a question, Eric, about the trade forecaster. It's in full-on trend mode, and yet the market is so choppy. Is that normal? No, it's not. But you have to remember the trade forecaster works in a similar fashion to how the weatherman predicts the weather. You know, the weather service will look at things like barometric pressure, temperature, wind speeds, um, humidity, stuff like that, and it will say, okay, well, the last time the we had these types of conditions, the weather was like this. And the trade forecaster does a similar thing. The trade forecaster looks back into the history of the chart and it says, okay, last time the market presented these types of conditions, we had a trend mode. Now, in the one way, it is trend mode because we're not seeing a whole lot in the way of retracement. But normally in trend mode, we anticipate the market to be more like this, right? To have a little bit more follow through. That's not always the case. Sometimes trend mode simply means that the pullbacks will be less pronounced and the follow through tends to be a little bit greater. But no, you're right. It's off this morning. It just like the weatherman misses the mark sometimes, so will trade forecaster. Tony says the weatherman's wrong all the time. Yeah, you should try living on the West Coast. They say it's this is the hardest part of the world to predict the weather for a weatherman. Doyle says it's not right most of the time. Well, again, you have to remember it. Just because it's in trend mode does not necessarily mean you're going to see a move like this. Trend mode means that very often you will see a move like this, and you want to make sure that your trade forecaster is set to your correct time zone. You have to set your market open time relative to your computer. If that's not set correctly, you're going to get some bad information off of the trade forecaster. But normally, if it's in trend mode, very often we will see a move like this, but usually it also tells you that the pullbacks are not going to be as strong and the follow through will tend to be a little bit greater. Therefore, you may choose to have a deeper profit target and maybe even a tighter stop. The scalp mode is just the opposite, where the market tends to have less follow through and larger pullbacks. And that's kind of what we're seeing here this morning. Like, I agree with you. It should be more in scalp mode than what we're seeing. The market's definitely acting more like it's in scalp mode. But you have to remember too, with these tools which are predictive, such as the trade forecaster, we're trying to predict what's going to happen in the future, right? And that's very difficult to do. So a lot of times it'll get it right, sometimes it'll get it wrong. All right, you guys, hopefully tomorrow will be a little bit more productive and we'll catch up with you then. Bye for now.